God hears. This story centers around a particular celebration. Back in those days, a woman would breastfeed her child until the child was about 3 years old, sometimes older. It's been known 4 or even 5 years old. But when the child is weaned, then there would be a celebration. Everyone would be happy. But there might be a few people at this celebration that's not quite as happy as the others. In this case, one person could have been Sarah herself. She might have not been terribly pleased to give up this closeness with her son. Then there was the other wife, Hagar, who, with all this celebration about this other child in the family, may have had to hold in a little bit of resentment. Then, of course, there's Ishmael. He's about 15, 16, 17 years old. He's the older son, the oldest son, and have all of this hoopla about this young child that has come in to take the attention of his father. Might not have been very happy. And of course, the scripture tells us that he mocked his half-brother, and Sarah saw it, which caused all the trouble. Now, Abraham, Sarah wants Abraham to send the two of them away. Abraham was hesitant. He was uneasy about this. He was uneasy for 2 reasons. First of all, the first one, it was mentioned in the story. He loved Ishmael. This was his son. He had already lost Lot, which was like a son. Now to send Ishmael and his mother out into the wilderness where they could die, he was uneasy about this. But there was another reason, and that is the traditions of that day, the customs of that day allowed for a wife who couldn't bear children to take a servant girl and have her husband have a child by the servant girl, like what we talked about before. But the custom goes on. The tradition says that once that child is born, the wife cannot mistreat the servant girl. Sarah had already stepped over those bounds. She had already mistreated Hagar 15, 16, 17 years before. But now to send them away to almost certain death? No. Abraham definitely was uneasy about this. It took God to step in to say, no, go ahead and do that. Listen to your wife. It's okay. I will watch over them. I will be like a father to them. I will make sure they're all right. I will bless them. I will multiply them. And that's when he was able to send them away. I was in Israel one time when I rented a car and I was down in the Negev desert, down in the area where Hagar and Ishmael were at. And I was driving out to a particular location, a place where I think possibly Moses could have brought the children of Israel and camped out during the wilderness wanderings. Now, as I was driving along, I kept seeing signs for certain cisterns, one on this side and one on that side, and I was kind of curious. I thought, well, the next one I come to, I think I'll stop and see what's there. I'm the only car on the road, by the way. So when I pull in that little parking lot right next there, I was the only one there. I got out of the car and walked up a little hill, and right there, boom, there it was. There was this huge, big hole in the ground, a cistern. The whole area around there was made to collect any water that would flow down to come into this hole. And even though it was rocky, desolate area, and not much was growing. Right there was tall green grass growing up from the bottom of that thing. And as I was looking at this curiosity, I suddenly realized there might be some snakes around there, so I was kind of watching for that too. And then off on the other side, a little bit farther away, was this old desert shrub tree. And for whatever reason, I decided to go over there and look at the tree. I must have been bored or something, I don't know. I made myself around that cistern and walked over to the tree. And I was just sitting there looking at the tree when I said, well, it's time to go. So I turned away and I looked back to where the cistern was, and my car was on the other side, and suddenly it was what only possibly a storyteller can see, but suddenly I saw it. It was all there. Right next to me, under the shade of this tree, was a young man dying of thirst. Over there was a woman kneeling down, sobbing her heart out. The cistern was just a little ways off. Suddenly the young man cried out. And when that happened, an angel appeared next to the woman. He gave her some instructions, and she looks up and sees the cistern, the well. She rushes over and gets some water and brings it back right next to me, kneels down and gives the water to her son. I looked at that whole scene. I saw it all. Just in seconds I saw it. And the story came alive to me. I'll never forget that. Several things happen that we know about. One is that years later, after Ishmael gets a wife, has at least 12 sons and some daughters. One of those daughters marries his half-brother's grandson. Ishmael's daughter marries Esau. Just found that interesting. And when Ishmael was an older man, he came back up in this area of Canaan, went to the city of Hebron. There he met with his half-brother, Isaac, and the two of them buried their father. The one man who loved both of them. Come back when I give you more insights on the story.